Let's be honest. When you think of Genghis Khan, you probably picture a bloodthirsty tyrant, right? The scourge of God, leaving nothing but fire and ash in his wake. And you're not wrong, but you're also not totally right. His approach to conquest was way more methodical than just mindless destruction. Sure, in a conquered city, the adult men were basically a write-off. But young women and girls, standard procedure was not to kill them, but to scoop them up as spoils of war. And get this, if enemy soldiers just surrendered, he didn't execute them. He folded them right into his own army. The man lived by his own strict legal code, the Yasa. So for all the brutality, and there was a lot of it, he was seen as a fair, predictable ruler, so much so that his former enemies would literally line up for a chance to serve him. So why would they do that? Because Genghis Khan built a true meritocracy. He didn't care who your dad was or what fancy family you came from. He promoted based on skill and loyalty, period. A guy named Subutai, who once fought him, rose through the ranks to become one of his greatest, most trusted generals. That philosophy sent a clear message to everyone on the steppe. This guy knows how to build something real, how to reward talent, and how to create order out of total chaos. Now here's where the story gets really complicated, especially for women. You'd think the Mongol Empire was a purely patriarchal society, but women actually had significant legal rights under the Yasa, like owning property. But, and this is a huge but, this existed right alongside a terrifying reality for women captured in war. If you were from Europe or Persia, your pale skin and different features made you an exotic prize. For a beautiful captive, the future was a terrifying lottery. But it did offer one thing, a chance at survival. Maybe even a life without the constant abuse many other prisoners faced. Need a case study? Look no further than Turkan Khatun. This wasn't just a queen. They called her the mistress of the world, one of the most powerful women in the Khwarezmian Empire. When the Mongols rolled in, she was captured. She was forced to watch her royal sons be executed before the women of her court were handed out like party favors to Mongol commanders. Her own fate? She was exiled, shipped off to the remote heartland of Mongolia to live out her days as a living trophy of the Khan's victory. One day you're the mistress of the world. The next, you're a political souvenir. So, what was the thinking here? From a Mongol warrior's perspective, it was brutally simple. First, having a collection of foreign women proved you were a big shot. Second, exotic women were a status symbol. But most importantly, capturing an enemy's women was the final nail in the coffin. It was a statement that you had so utterly crushed your foe that they couldn't even protect their own family. And in the Mongol worldview, a man who can't protect his women doesn't deserve to live. But here's the twist. This grim beginning wasn't always the end of the story. Some of these women were brilliant political survivors. The most stunning example is Turagene Khatun. She was a captive from a conquered tribe who became the wife of Genghis's son, Ogadai. When he died, did she fade away? Nope. She seized power and ruled the entire Mongol Empire as regent for 5 years. She was the one pulling the strings, even deciding who the next great Khan would be. But let's be clear. Turagene was the exception, not the rule. For every woman who navigated her way to power, countless others were thrown into a meat grinder of violence. In the chaos after a city fell, mass rape and murder were common. Sometimes commanders would just hand out captured girls to their soldiers as a bonus for a job well done, disposable spoils of war. And if a woman got sick or exhausted on the march, she was a liability. The Mongols would just leave her behind on the plains to die. But even in all this horror, there was a strange, cold pragmatism at play. A warrior quickly realized that a healthy, beautiful captive was a valuable asset. Why kill something you could sell or gift to your commander for a promotion? The Mongols were empire builders, not just destroyers. They didn't waste resources, and a valuable woman was a resource. This mindset is the key to understanding what happened to the women who ended up in the personal collection of Genghis Khan himself. Which brings us, finally, to the big man's harem. He had his 4 main wives, of course, but his personal entourage included thousands of concubines. This wasn't just about lust, it was political theater. These women were his living trophy case. After every victory, the most beautiful captives were paraded before him. He'd look them over and decide, this one goes to a loyal general, and this one goes into my collection. But once inside this gilded cage, they were generally safe. They were well-fed, cared for, and even taught skills like playing music. And we know this isn't just Mongol propaganda. An outsider, a friar named William of Rubruck, saw it with his own eyes. He traveled to the Mongol capital and wrote about the honored places these women held at court, their fine silks, and their respected status during feasts. Powerless, yes, but not abused. And get this, the guy had a traveling orchestra made up entirely of captive young women who were skilled musicians. They went with him everywhere, even on military campaigns. For a man famous for tearing civilizations down, he had a deep and surprising love for the culture he was conquering. And yes, the wives and daughters of the kings he conquered often ended up in his bed. He wasn't shy about it. He famously said that the greatest joy for a man was to crush his adversaries, to seize their possessions, to see the tears of their loved ones, and to hold their wives and daughters in his embrace. But even a concubine could be more than just property. In one incredible instance, the Khan decided to give one of his concubines, Abiga, to his bodyguard, Yushadai. But he didn't just cast her aside. He formally explained his decision to her, telling her it wasn't because of any fault of hers, but because Yushadai's loyalty had earned him the highest possible honor. The fact that he felt the need to justify himself shows that, even here, there were rules and a strange sort of respect. There was, however, one line you did not cross with the Khan: infidelity. His women were his property, and he was fiercely jealous. But this rule led to one of the most telling stories. The Khan was smitten with a woman named Kulan and sent his trusted friend Naya to bring her to him. Fearing for her safety on the road, Naya kept her in his own tent for 3 nights to protect her. When the Khan found out, he was enraged and ordered Naya's execution. But then Kulan spoke up. Boldly, she stood before the most powerful man in the world and said, "He told me he was your servant and was protecting me for you. If he hadn't, who knows what would have happened to me? If you doubt my purity, you can examine me yourself." What a move. With those words, she saved Naya's life and proved her own intelligence and worth. So in the end, the fate of a captured woman in the Mongol Empire was like the flip of a coin. On one side, you have the story of Kulan, the chance to use your wits to survive and even thrive in a gilded cage. On the other, The grim reality for thousands of unknown women who became the casual victims of war. A position of strange privilege or no chance at all. A terrifying and absolutely real lottery of survival.